Let's see what we have today. On the previous video, we were talking about electrostatics. So here we're just continuing with the electrostatics, treating questions. So on the previous video, we mentioned that as long as this electrostatics is from grade 10, there are only two formulas. So the first formula says number of electrons is equals to the charge all over the electron charge, or the charge on electron. So this is the number of electrons, this is the charge, and then this is the charge on electron. So this is the first formula, and then the second formula is for a new charge. So as long as the spheres are brought to contact, they form a new charge. So this is the formula for a new charge, Q1 plus Q2 all over 2. So we talked about this on the previous video. Now let's get back to business. Now the diagram below shows two small identical spheres P and Q on insulated stands. The charge on sphere P is -3 times 10 to the -6 coulomb, and the charge on sphere Q is unknown. So as you can see, we have sphere P with that charge of -3 times 10 to the -6 coulomb, and then we have Q, which is unknown. So 10.1, calculate the number of electrons in excess on sphere P. So sphere P, they want to know the number of electrons. So already we have two formulas. The first one is for electrons, the second one is for a new charge. So our focus now, since it's electrons, that is our focus. So 10.1, number of electrons is equals to the charge all over the electron charge. So what is the charge? The charge is given as -3 times 10 to the -6. So this is -3 times 10 to the -6 over the electron charge. This one, we talked about it as -1,6 times 10 to the -19. This one is constant, it doesn't change. So this is -1,6 times 10 to the -19. So now 1,875 times 10 to the power 13. This is number of electrons. That means this is electrons. Just like that, easy peasy. Then the second statement says the two spheres are brought into contact and they are then returned to their original positions. So they were brought into contact and then they get separated after. Then they went back to their original position. Then after separation, each sphere now carries a charge of -1 times 10 to the -6 coulomb. So this is our new charge after separation. I hope you understand that. When they get separated, each sphere now is having this charge. That means this is a new charge. So 10.2, calculate the original charge on sphere Q before the spheres were brought into contact. That means now they want to know the charge on sphere Q before they were brought into contact. So since we have a new charge, that means we're allowed to use the formula for a new charge. So the formula for a new charge is this one. So this is the Q new, then Q, let me say this is the charge on P plus the charge on Q. all over 2. So now, what is a new charge? This is the new charge because after separation, each sphere was having this charge. That means this is our new charge. So our new charge is -1 times 10 to the -6, then is equals to, then the charge on P is -3 times 10 to the power -6. So this is the charge on P times 10 to the -6 plus, we are looking for the charge on Q, we don't know. Then we divide by 2. So this one is over 1. Then equal sign, that means we can cross multiply. Then when we cross multiply this side, let me start with this side. -3 times 10 to the -6 plus the charge on Q is equals to, then -1 times 10 to the -6 times 2. That's going to give us -2 times 10 to the -6. Then from then, let's say we take this one to the other side. So the charge on Q is equals to -2 times 10 to the -6 plus this side is positive. That means when it goes to the other side, it becomes positive. Yes, negative, positive. So now it's 3 times 10 to the -6. Then -2 plus 3, that is 1. So it's 1 times 10 to the -6 coulomb. That means this is the charge on sphere Q. Easy, right? So let's check the last question. The last question, they said, were electrons transferred from P to Q or Q to P during contact? So since electrons, they move from the sphere or the charge that is having excess electrons, so that means they move from the charge that is having more electrons. So we use the word excess. So since electrons are negatively charged, that means now we have positive. This one is 1, that's positive. 1 times 10 to the -6 coulomb. This one is -3 times 10 to the -6 coulomb. So since it's positive and negative, and the electrons are negatively charged, that means the one that is having a negative charge is having excess electrons. So on this one, it's easy to differentiate that they will move from the charge that is having excess electrons. Because it's negative, electrons are negatively charged. So that means they will move from the -1 to the +1. So that means they will move from P to Q. So that means 10.3, they will move from P to Q. So that's how you can tell the difference. Negative, positive, it's easy to tell because these are unlike charges. Always electrons, they move from negative to positive. Why? Because negative, it has excess electrons because electrons are negatively charged. So once the sphere is negative, that means it's having excess electrons than the other. So thank you for watching, and please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you.